Tottenham's transfer summit in paradise. Arsenal with money to spend, but who'll be a gunner and who'll be a goner, and Jose and the other managers on the move. Joining me today are former England international Emile Heskey and international football writer Peter Staunton. I'm James Richardson. This is Transfer Talk. Well, the transfer window is now open in the Premier League, Peter. What are Spurs going to do in it?
I think first and foremost for Spurs, the most important thing to do, the number one priority has to be to hang on to Gareth Bale. They missed out on the Champions League, and this week the owner Joe Lewis, Daniel Levy and the manager Andre Villas-Boas are having somewhat of a summit in the Bahamas just to try and sort out which way Spurs go from this summer on.
Can they afford to keep him?
I don't think they can afford not to keep him. Reportedly, they're going to break their wage structure. £130,000 a week has been discussed, but they have to do whatever they can to hold on to Gareth Bale, try and get that Champions League spot for next year.
Right. Also, it'd be nice for them to sign a forward, Emile. I'm not sure what you're up to next season.
I've signed another deal at Newcastle Jets.
All right. David Villa, another option that they have up their sleeves. Are you a fan?
Yes, I am. Obviously, before he had his injury where he broke his leg, he was actually on fire. You know, he was scoring goals at will, even in a team that is centred around just Messi, and he was getting his 20, 25 goals a season. So he's a player that really excites me. But after his injury, it's going to be a little bit different to come back after your injury.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about how well he and Messi coexist within the Barcelona setup. Do you think he would fit into the Tottenham structure?
Yeah, I think he would. You know, even though he is a striker, he actually played most of his game on the left and the right wing, and he was getting 20 goals from there. So I think he can come into a Spurs side and do well. And
Barcelona want to sell?
Well, Barcelona probably would listen to an offer for David Villa. He's quite a big earner, and I think to take him off the wage books and then try and restructure, maybe Cesc Fabregas, Michael, Alexis Sanchez, and then they can build again after falling short of their Champions League targets this year.
All right. The other news at Spurs is that they might be looking to bring in a transfer guru.
Yeah, Franco Baldini is who's currently the sporting director at Roma. They're looking to bring in somewhat of a conduit between the manager and the players and transfer targets. And Baldini, whose work is quite well known, could be that man to provide that bridge.
You worked with him for England, Emile. How would you rate him? I
thought he was good. He was like the bridge between the players and the manager. So we had quite a good relationship with him as players. So I thought he was really, really good.
All right, nice one. Well, Arsenal, meanwhile, pipped Spurs to that fourth Champions League place, and there's a lot of talk about massive amounts of money being at Arsene Wenger's disposal this summer.
Yeah, they've signed a new kit deal with Puma, and the sponsorship around the Emirates Stadium has been renewed, so it looks like they've got the fabled war chest this summer, whether Arsene Wenger wants to open it or not. And I think primary targets include Ashley Williams, the Swansea defender. A deal starting at around £8 million has been discussed. And also, since Fiorentina missed out in the Champions League, that could pave the way for the deal to bring Stefan Jovetic to the Premier League.
A lot of money being talked about for him, 24 million for a player who's promised a lot, but maybe not delivered that much in Florence.
Yeah, well, his goal-scoring totals have diminished over the last number of years. Due to injury, first and foremost, I think he's had a few knocks. But also, I think he's changed his role in the team. He is a facilitator for Fiorentina, bringing midfielders into the game. And I do see a lot of Robin van Persie these days in Stefan Jovetic. So I think maybe if Arsene Wenger wants to improve on Olivier Giroud in a footballing sense, I think he could do a lot worse than bring in Stefan Jovetic.
Although a lot of people say that Adam Ljajic is the player he really should be going for. Meanwhile, what's the latest at the back?
Well, Wojciech Szczesny, we know, doesn't command 100% the trust of Arsene Wenger. So between the sticks, they're going to look at another goalkeeper. Julius Cesar has just been relegated with QPR, whether his wages would be a stumbling block. And also Rene Adler, who's proven himself to be possibly the equal to the Germany #1, who is Manuel Neuer. So I think they could do a lot worse than bringing Rene Adler from Hamburg, that's for sure. Now,
managers, they're on a merry-go-round, Peter. Ancelotti said he wants to leave Paris Saint-Germain. Mourinho is out at Real Madrid. There's talk of Benitez going to Napoli. And the Mourinho coming to Chelsea story, there's all sorts of talk about other players that might be heading for the exit at Real with him.
Yeah, it's no secret that Jose Mourinho is going to take up the reins at Chelsea. Within the next 7 or 14 days, I think we're going to see Mourinho confirmed in the hot seat there. Players will leave Real Madrid this summer, that's for sure. Whether Cristiano Ronaldo follows Jose Mourinho to Stamford Bridge is another story. Not sure if that one has any legs. But one player definitely going to leave, I think, is Pepe, who may even go to Manchester City.
Right. Does that make sense for you? Does that add up?
I think it does add up. They could do with cover in the central defensive area where Julian Lescott's probably going to be on his way out. But also Pepe provides great energy in that central midfield area too, where Javi Garcia and Gareth Barry haven't really been the standard this season. So I think Pepe could add something there. He knows Pellegrini too, the manager, who could be on his way into Manchester City.
Manuel Pellegrini, there's talk of him bringing all sorts of big names, but one of the guys who's kind of still out there, stuck in Ukraine, waiting for a call, is Fernandinho, the Shakhtar Donetsk midfielder. Difficult situation he's in because he's signed on with a massive release clause, I think over 40 million, and the club are refusing to budge on that.
Why would you budge if you've got it in writing? You know, he's a great player, and he's done it year after year, especially in the Champions League, and that's where he's made his name. So if you've got a clause in your contract and you're a club, and another club wants him, and that's your clause to get out. I think he's shown interest in wanting to come to the Premier League with Man City. So there you go.
Yeah, well, the logic usually is if a player wants to leave, you have to let him go, but apparently they don't think that way in the Ukraine. Do you think they might soften on this, Peter?
No, I don't, quite simply because Manchester City have so much money behind them that Shakhtar Donetsk are well aware that if they want to stump up the cash for Fernandinho, that's exactly what they're going to have to do. So I think unless we can get 40 million in the Shakhtar Donetsk bank account from Manchester City, he's not going anywhere. Right.
Now, also on the subject of Manchester City, Cavani is a big target for them, although Chelsea are interested as well. And Rafa Benitez possibly heading down to Naples as well, where he might be receiving Edin Dzeko from City in return.
Yeah, Aurelio De Laurentiis, the president of Napoli, confirmed that he did meet with Manchester City in England over the last few days to discuss a deal between the two clubs for Edinson Cavani going one way in a part exchange for Edin Dzeko going the other. I think Cavani would be a fantastic addition to the City squad. I do think also that Dzeko would be a good addition for Napoli. So if the finances are right, I think this would be a good deal for both clubs.
Presumably it would be Edin Dzeko plus bags of cash, because Cavani is a much more multifaceted player, no?
Yeah, definitely. You know, Edin Dzeko's more of a traditional centre forward, where Cavani could probably play anywhere along that front line. And he's been really exciting for a few years. So I know a lot of teams have been looking at Edin Dzeko. I think he's done really well since he's been at Man City. He's been a little unlucky with loss of form and now and again. But in general, I think he's done really well. All
right, well, he was a shining star in the Bundesliga as well, and no doubt would really do well leading the line for Napoli. But Cavani, he could really take Man City up yet another gear, no?
Yeah, you know, obviously Roberto Mancini didn't get the best out of a lot of his strikers. I think the likes of Sergio Aguero and Carlos Tevez haven't really kicked on to that next level that City are looking for. But I do think with a new manager coming in, fellow South American Pellegrini, I think he maybe could get the best out of Cavani. And if they do, I mean, Cavani is guaranteed goals, so it'd be a good deal for City.
Certainly would. Now, I had a question in about Neymar, story that keeps on rumbling. Barcelona last week insisted that they might be just days away from finally landing the Brazilian. Any further developments on that?
It's become a bit of a daily soap opera at this stage. You have the Santos president on one hand saying that it'll be difficult to hold on to Neymar throughout the summer. It's a long transfer window. You have Barcelona claiming that they've not spoken to anybody regarding Neymar. But then you've got Luis Felipe Scolari sticking his oar in, the Brazilian manager, saying he's already spoken to the Barcelona president, Sandro Rosell, who's looking for a character reference. So there's reportedly a meeting set up for after the Confederations Cup between Neymar and Barcelona. But whether he goes this summer or not, that remains to be seen. His father, Neymar's father, reckons that he's going to be there right the way until after the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. But
there are forwards who work particularly well together. I mean, a lot of strikers did really well playing with you, but equally at Barcelona, we're talking about the fact that David Villa didn't always enjoy the best of service when he was up front with Leo Messi. So do you think that it could work with Neymar and Messi in the same team?
I think so, because Neymar plays more on the left. So he's a more of a provider anyway, even though he does chip in and get a lot of goals, but he's more of a provider anyway. So I think it could work well with Neymar and Messi.
Well, that's all the transfer talk we've got time for. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to click on the subscribe button or leave us a comment on Facebook, Twitter or YouTube.